Have you ever heard of someone claiming to be possessed by not one but 7 different spirits? Today, we're diving into the strange and fascinating case of Clarita Villanueva, a young woman from Manila whose story captivated an entire nation back in the 1950s. It all started in May 1953. Clarita, an orphan just 18 years old, was arrested for vagrancy. But her time in Bilibid prison, one of the most notorious prisons in the Philippines, was anything but ordinary. Soon after her arrival, she began to scream in terror, claiming she was being attacked by invisible entities. She described 2 figures, a large, dark man with fangs named Carlito, and a smaller, almost angelic-looking one. Prison guards and inmates were terrified. They saw mysterious bite marks appearing all over Clarita's body on her neck, her hands, her back, right before their very eyes. These weren't just scratches. They were distinct, human-like bite marks appearing out of thin air. The prison doctor, Mariano Lara, was completely baffled. He documented everything, noting the bites were deep and clearly defined. But he couldn't find any logical medical explanation. Clarita would writhe in agony, her body contorting as if she were being physically assaulted by an unseen force. News of the possessed girl of Bilibid spread like wildfire. The mayor of Manila, Arsenio Lacson, a known skeptic, decided to see this for himself. He brought along a team of doctors and even a priest. When they arrived, Clarita was in the middle of another violent episode. Mayor Lacson, trying to debunk the whole thing, famously taunted the supposed spirits, challenging them to bite him instead. Nothing happened to him, but right after he spoke, fresh bite marks appeared on Clarita. The mayor left the prison shaken and convinced that something truly unexplainable was happening. With medical science at a dead end, spiritual help was brought in. A series of priests and pastors attempted exorcisms, but none seemed to work. The attacks continued, sometimes becoming even more violent during the rituals. The media was having a field day, with newspapers publishing daily updates on Clarita's condition. The public was absolutely gripped by the story. Then, an American Protestant missionary named Lester Smurl heard about the case. He believed he was called by God to help Clarita. He went to the prison and, after a dramatic 3-day spiritual battle involving intense prayer, he declared Clarita freed from her demonic torment. He claimed the 7 spirits had finally been cast out. Miraculously, after Smurl's intervention, the attacks stopped. The biting, the screaming, the terror. It all came to an end. Clarita Villanueva was finally at peace. She was eventually released from prison, went on to live a quiet life, got married, and had children. She never experienced the terrifying phenomena again. So what really happened to Clarita? Was it a genuine case of demonic possession, as many believed? Was it an elaborate hoax by a troubled young woman seeking attention? Or was it some kind of severe, undiscovered psychological condition manifesting in physical ways? We may never know for sure. The case remains one of the most well-documented and perplexing accounts of its kind, leaving us with more questions than answers. What do you think? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's greatest mysteries. Have you ever heard a sound in the middle of the night that just felt wrong? The kind of sound that freezes the blood in your veins and makes every hair on your body stand on end. That's what happened in Willow Creek, a town so quiet you could hear a pin drop from a mile away. At least, it used to be. The story begins with the Thompson family. They were new to town, drawn in by the promise of peaceful country, living in a charming old house on the edge of the woods. It was perfect. For about a week, then came the first night of the full moon. It started subtly. A faint scratching from within the walls. A whisper on the wind that sounded almost like a name. The Thompsons brushed it off as the house settling or the wind playing tricks. But the sounds grew bolder. Soon, they were hearing footsteps upstairs when everyone was downstairs. Doors would creak open on their own, and cold spots would drift through rooms like unseen ghosts. Little Emily Thompson, their 7-year-old, started talking to a new imaginary friend she called the tall man from the woods. She said he was lonely and just wanted to come inside to get warm. Her parents were unnerved, but kids have wild imaginations, right? The breaking point came during what the town now calls the Unholy Night. A blizzard had descended, cutting Willow Creek off from the outside world. The power went out, plunging the Thompson house into absolute darkness. That's when the scratching wasn't just in the walls anymore. It was at the front door, loud, frantic, desperate. It sounded like a wild animal trying to claw its way in. Mr. Thompson, armed with a heavy fireplace poker, crept to the door and peered through the peephole. He never told anyone exactly what he saw. All he said was that it was tall, unnaturally thin, with eyes that glowed a faint, sickly green in the darkness. It wasn't an animal, and it wasn't human. He screamed for his family to run, to get to the cellar. As they scrambled down the stairs, the front door splintered, bursting inward with a sound like a thunderclap. The thing from the woods was inside. They huddled in the cellar, listening to the monstrous thing ransack their home. Heavy furniture was thrown, glass shattered, and a low, guttural growl echoed through the floorboards above them. It sounded like it was searching for something. For them, they stayed down there for what felt like an eternity, praying for sunrise. When dawn finally broke, casting weak light through the tiny cellar window, the house above them fell silent. When the police finally made it through the snow, they found a scene of utter chaos. The house was destroyed from the inside out. But the Thompsons were safe, physically anyway. On the floor, amidst the debris, were deep, non-human tracks, leading from the broken front door, through the house, and back out into the woods. They followed them for a while, but the tracks just vanished, as if the creature had dissolved into thin air. The Thompsons left Willow Creek that very day and never looked back. The house stands empty now, a silent monument to that terrifying night. Some locals say that on the anniversary of the storm, if you listen closely, you can still hear scratching sounds coming from the old Thompson place. The tall man from the woods, they whisper, is still waiting, still lonely, still wanting to come inside. What do you think was scratching at their door? A local legend, or something more? Let me know your theories in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe for more unexplained mysteries. Stay safe out there. Have you ever felt like there's a part of you that's a complete stranger? A darker side you don't want to acknowledge? Well, there once was a boy named Leo, a quiet kid who preferred the company of his sketchbook over people. His drawings were his whole world. He drew everything he saw: the stray cat in the alley, the old man on the park bench, the rustling leaves on the trees. But one day Leo started drawing something else, something he'd never seen before. It started as a shadow in the corner of his page, a smudge of charcoal that seemed to have a mind of its own. Day by day, the shadow grew, taking on a definite shape. It had long, spindly limbs, sharp claws, and eyes that glowed with a faint, unsettling light. Leo didn't know where it came from, but he felt compelled to draw it. He called it his demon. At first, drawing the demon was just a strange habit, but soon, things started to change. Whenever Leo felt angry, the demon in his drawings would have a cruel smirk. When he was sad, the demon's eyes would drip with inky tears. It was as if the creature on the paper was mirroring his deepest, darkest emotions, the ones he tried so hard to hide from everyone, even himself. His parents noticed the change. Leo became more withdrawn. His grades slipped, and he'd spend hours locked in his room, just drawing. They saw his sketchbook filled with these monstrous figures and grew worried. They tried talking to him, but Leo couldn't explain. How could he tell them that the monster on the page felt more real than anything else? He was afraid they'd think he was crazy. He was afraid he was crazy. One night, after a big fight with his parents, Leo felt a rage he had never experienced before. He stormed into his room, grabbed his sketchbook, and started drawing with a furious energy. The charcoal flew across the paper. The demon he drew this time was bigger, scarier, and more powerful than ever before. Its claws looked like they could tear through the page. Its teeth were bared in a terrifying snarl. As he drew the final vicious stroke, a cold wind swept through his room, even though the window was shut. The papers on his desk fluttered wildly. Leo looked down at his drawing, and his heart stopped. The demon's eyes were glowing. Not just on the paper, but with a real, physical light. He watched in horror as a smoky, shadowy hand reached out from the sketchbook, its long claws stretching into the air of his room. The demon was coming out. Panic seized him. He threw the sketchbook across the room, but it was too late. The creature was pulling itself from the two-dimensional world into his. It was a manifestation of all his anger, his fear, his loneliness. It was everything he hated about himself, given form. The demon stood before him, a towering silhouette of shadow and smoke, its glowing eyes fixed on him. And in that terrifying moment, Leo understood. This wasn't just a monster from his imagination. It was a part of him. He realized he had two choices. Let this creature, his own inner demon, consume him or face it. Trembling, he walked over to the sketchbook he had thrown away. He picked up his charcoal pencil. His hands were shaking, but his resolve was firm. He looked the demon in its glowing eyes and started to draw again. But this time, he didn't draw the monster. He drew himself, standing tall, holding a light. He drew his friends, his family, surrounding him. He drew every happy memory he could recall, every moment of kindness, every spark of joy. As he drew, the light in his new drawing grew brighter, casting a warm glow that pushed back against the shadows. The demon shrieked, not in pain, but as if it were dissolving. It couldn't exist in this light. The more Leo drew the good, the positive, the hopeful, the more the demon faded, until it was nothing more than a faint wisp of smoke, which was then drawn back into the sketchbook. No longer a monster, but just a faint charcoal smudge on a new, brighter page. Leo learned that day that everyone has their own demons. They are born from our fears, our sadness, our anger. We can't always get rid of them, but we don't have to let them control us. By acknowledging our light, by focusing on the good, and by reaching out for help, we can keep those shadows at bay. Leo kept drawing, but now his sketchbook was filled with heroes, with light, and with hope. And sometimes, in the corner of a page, you could still see a small, faint shadow. A reminder of the darkness he had faced and the strength he had found within himself to overcome it. Thanks for watching. If you or someone you know is struggling, remember that talking about it is a sign of strength, not weakness. Reaching out for help is the bravest thing you can do. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. Have you ever heard a story so chilling it makes you question everything you thought you knew? Today, we're diving into a case that's not just about one person, but an entire family seemingly caught in the grip of something inexplicable. This is the story of the Smurl family haunting. It all started in 1974, when Jack and Janet Smurl, along with their two young daughters and Jack's parents, moved into a duplex on Chase Street in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. They were looking for a fresh start, a place to build their lives. But soon after settling in, strange things began to happen. At first, it was small stuff. Tools would go missing and then reappear. Stains would mysteriously show up on the carpets. The TV would turn on and off by itself. They tried to rationalize it. Faulty wiring, old plumbing, maybe just their imagination. But the activity didn't stop. It escalated. Soon, the family started hearing noises scratching from within the walls, footsteps on the stairs when no one was there, and whispers that seemed to come from nowhere. Foul odors would fill the house without any explanation. The temperature would drop suddenly in certain rooms, leaving a bone-chilling cold. Janet Smurl reported feeling an unseen presence and even being physically pushed. Jack experienced similar phenomena. It wasn't just bumps in the night anymore. It felt like something was actively targeting them. The terror wasn't confined to the parents. Their daughters claimed to see shadowy figures in their rooms. Even Jack's parents, who lived in the other half of the duplex, started experiencing unsettling events. The family was living in a constant state of fear. They were exhausted, emotionally drained, and felt completely isolated. They tried everything they could think of. They had the house blessed by a local priest, but the activity only seemed to get worse, becoming more aggressive and violent. Jack and Janet both reported being physically and mentally tormented by unseen forces. They described 3 spirits and one particularly malevolent demon that haunted their home. Desperate for help, the Smurls contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous paranormal investigators you might know from the Conjuring films. The Warrens visited the home multiple times, conducting investigations and even performing exorcisms. They confirmed the family's claims, stating that the house was infested by a powerful demonic entity. The Warrens' involvement brought national media attention to the Smurl family's plight. Their story was featured in newspapers, on television, and eventually became the subject of a book and a made-for-TV movie called The Haunted. The publicity was a double-edged sword. While it brought them some support, many people were skeptical. Neighbors and community members were divided. Some believed the family was telling the truth, while others thought it was all a hoax for money or fame. The Smurls insisted their experiences were real, and that they just wanted the torment to end. Despite multiple exorcisms and the Warrens' efforts, the activity reportedly continued. Finally, in 1987, after more than a decade of reported paranormal assaults, the Smurl family had enough. They moved out of the house on Chase Street, hoping to leave the nightmare behind them. After they left, the next family to move in reported no unusual activity whatsoever. So what really happened in that house? Was it a case of mass hysteria, a shared delusion fueled by stress? Or was the Smurl family truly tormented by a demonic entity that attached itself to them? The case remains one of the most controversial and well-documented hauntings in American history. It forces us to confront the boundaries between what we know and what we can't explain. The family maintained their story for the rest of their lives, never wavering. Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, the story of the Smurl family is a terrifying reminder that sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones we can't see. What do you think? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Was it a genuine haunting or something else entirely? Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the unexplained, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more strange stories. See you next time. Did you know that exorcisms aren't just something you see in horror movies? They've been a very real part of human history, and some say they still happen today. Today, we re-dive into the strange and chilling story of what many call the last officially sanctioned exorcism in the United States. Our story takes us back to 1949, not to some medieval village, but to the suburbs of Maryland and St. Louis. It all centered around a 14-year-old boy, known by the pseudonym Roland Doe, to protect his identity. The events that unfolded around him became the primary inspiration for the famous book and movie, The Exorcist. It started innocently enough. Roland was very close to his spiritualist aunt, who introduced him to a Ouija board. After his aunt passed away, strange things reportedly began to happen in the house. The family heard scratching noises coming from the walls, saw furniture moving on its own, and witnessed objects levitating and flying across the room. Roland himself started showing disturbing changes. His personality shifted. He would speak in a guttural voice that wasn't his own, and his body would contort into unnatural positions. His terrified family first turned to doctors and psychiatrists, but they couldn't find any medical explanation for Roland's condition. Desperate, they sought help from their church. The local minister, after observing the boy, believed something supernatural was at play and referred them to the Catholic Church. This is where Father William S. Bowdern, a Jesuit priest from St. Louis University, enters the picture. Along with several other priests, he was granted permission by the Archbishop to perform the rite of exorcism. This wasn't a one-time event. It was a grueling process that lasted for several months. According to the diaries kept by the priests, the exorcism was a terrifying ordeal. They documented Roland spitting, cursing, and speaking in languages he had never learned. They reported that words like evil and hell appeared as red scratches on his body. During the rituals, the boy would allegedly break free from his restraints with superhuman strength, and the mattress he was on would shake violently. The priests described a constant battle, both spiritual and physical, to free the boy from what they believed was a demonic possession. The climax happened in a hospital room in St. Louis. After weeks of intense rituals, during one final, dramatic session, Roland reportedly cried out in a different voice, saying, "Satan, I am Saint Michael. I command you to leave this body now." After a violent convulsion, the boy suddenly became calm. The strange phenomena stopped. He later told the priests he had a vision of Saint Michael defeating a demon on a fiery battlefield. After that night, Roland Doe went on to live a completely normal life. He reportedly got married, had children, and had no memory of the terrifying events of 1949. The priests involved rarely spoke of the incident publicly, and the official records remained sealed for years. So, was it a genuine case of demonic possession, or was it a complex psychological case that was misunderstood at the time? Skeptics argue that Roland might have been a disturbed teenager acting out, or perhaps suffering from a mental illness that wasn't well understood in the 1940s. They point out that the only accounts we have are from the priests and the family, who were already inclined to believe in a supernatural explanation. Believers, however, point to the sheer intensity and specific nature of the phenomena. The physical manifestations, the languages, the sheer length of the ordeal, they argue that these can't all be explained away by conventional science. For them, the story of Roland Doe is powerful evidence that forces beyond our understanding are very real. This case remains one of the most well-documented and debated exorcisms in modern history. It forces us to question the boundaries between faith, science, and the unexplained. What do you think? Was this a battle for a young boy's soul, or a tragic case of misdiagnosis? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story fascinating, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more dives into the world's greatest mysteries. See you next time.